If you're like me, you like taking massive rips, but what's the biggest piece you've ever taken a hit out of? I am talking about flower hits because I think we all know that small rigs are better for dabs, but for flower hits, what's the biggest piece that you've ever used? How big was it? I think right now my largest pieces, I have a 30-inch beaker right here, and then I have this 28-inch zong, probably hits like it's closer to 3 feet. But years and years ago, I used to have a 6-foot, I think it was like a 6'3" acrylic bong. It was like the same height as me. And well, this is the story about that bong. So I want to say this was about 5 or 6 years ago in Colorado Springs. I think it was during the summertime. I used to have a lot of friends visit. Friends and family would visit, and usually their #1 goal would be to smoke the legal stuff and get the highest they've ever been. I had so many people say, yo, I'm coming to visit. I hope you can get me the highest I've ever been. So that would usually involve getting some special edibles, maybe some fancy dabs or some cool flower. But oftentimes I'd go get like a really cool piece, something that I hadn't used before, and it would oftentimes make the smoke sesh that much better. Well, one year I had a buddy visit me, and something that we would do from time to time is check out new head shops. I've been to a lot of the head shops in Colorado Springs, but there was still many of them. Some that I hadn't actually been to yet. So I would try to go to a new store where I hadn't been to see if I could see a piece that I hadn't seen before. I don't remember the exact shop. I think it was like Mixed Up Creations or Mixed Up something in Colorado Springs. They had some decent pieces. But when I went in there, I saw a 6-foot acrylic bong and it was like $60. Super low price point. Not a big deal to drop 60 bucks on a piece, especially something that's acrylic. It's plastic. I'm not going to have it forever. You can't really clean those pieces. They're not the best to hit out of. It's really just, what can you do with it? Can I get a big old 6-foot piece or something? I have seen larger glass pieces, like 6-foot pieces. I think I've seen like a 20-foot glass bong in a video. Sounds like a bitch to clean, but with the acrylic bong, I had the mindset that I was just going to use it for like several months and then throw it away once it got too dirty. Because you're not really going to clean that out. That acrylic just stains and it gets nasty over time. We go into this head shop. We pick out this 6-foot bong, and at the time my buddy was visiting, he was actually driving us around. I had a vehicle, but he was visiting and he had his car with him, so we're driving around. But his vehicle at the time was a Crossfire. Have you ever seen a Crossfire? They're tiny. It's a small little car. Me and my buddy were like both 6 foot something. We got knees, we got waists, we can bend and get into the car. But a 6'3" bong did not bend. It's not gonna get into the car as easily as we could. So what did we do? You could probably guess by now. I wedged the bottom of the bong by the floorboard, and I just let like a foot of the mouthpiece or so just hang out of the window. Have you ever driven around Colorado with a 6-foot bong poking out of your window? Well, I have, and I'm sure a lot of people have done that in Colorado. So we're driving back to my house, like a 15-20 minute drive. We got the bong hanging out the window. Couple of times we're at a stoplight. Hey, I want to hit that. You could tell what it is. Well, this thing was massive. It was a huge bong. It was one of those 2-person bongs. You needed somebody to light it. Some of those 6-foot bongs or those larger bongs, they're smart enough to put the bowl like in the middle so you can hit that yourself. But honestly, who wants to hit a 6-foot bong all by themselves? It sounds so lonely. You want to have some teamwork. You want to have a friend light it for you, because teamwork makes the dream work. Plus, it also makes it more fun to get high. This was really my party bong. Anytime I was having a party, a group of friends over, I'd bust out the 6-foot bong. Why not? We'd have other pieces going, but everybody is interested when you pull out the 6-foot bong. Somebody wants to hit it. This thing would literally hold like a 10-pound bag of ice and then some. Like at a certain point, filling up the chamber and clearing a 6-foot bong is pretty difficult for some people. So to compensate, you eliminate a lot of that airspace by stuffing the chamber up with ice. Now there's way less chamber to fill up with smoke, and it makes it easier to hit and clear. But, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes after putting all that ice there, it just starts melting all together, and your water level goes from about 9-10 inches. Now it's like 3 feet in your bong, so when you're hitting it, it's pulling up through the ice and you're getting splashed in your mouth. It's kind of fun when I think back on it. It was a nice little piece to have, something to stand on a chair just to give you that visual of, oh, look, I'm hitting the monster piece. But I had this piece for several months. It made it through several sessions, people visiting or me going to like a party or something and bringing it. It lasted a decent amount of time. Until one day I brought it to like a Christmas party at this MMA gym I used to train at. I've talked about the gym before. We basically just used to hotbox this gym and train. Well, one day we're having a Christmas party at this gym. Lots of pro fighters there, some amateurs, lots of people that just went into the gym to train. We're all smoking and drinking, dabbing, having a good time. I had to bring the 6-footer because it's a party. We're partying. I think this night at the gym, the bong got the most amount of hits it had on it. Got a lot of mileage because there's a lot of people there and everybody wanted to like test themselves or challenge themselves with the bong. People were challenging other people. Like, new person would come in and be like, hey, but you can't hit this thing. It was getting a little competitive. It was getting pretty fun. Seeing people challenge each other with this piece that I have that I've been hitting. Seeing people just barely be able to fill it up and clear it. It's fun. It's fun when you got big pieces. It's fun when you got wild pieces, especially when you're in a group setting. Well, later into the night, after we're all super high, some people are a little bit drunk, I'm sitting on the other side of the room from the bong. I'm maybe like 12, 15 feet away. And I mentioned it's like a 2-person bong, a 2-person setup. One guy is on the other side of the room standing on a chair hitting it, and the other guy is on the floor lighting it for him. The dude who hits it on the chair, like as soon as the smoke hits his lungs, he's just like coughing up a storm. He was done. He was wrecked by this hit. So he just like basically walks away from it. But the dude on the ground who lit it was kind of holding it up for him, and then he like kind of balances it on the floor. All right, this thing didn't really balance. You lean it against the wall when you're done hitting it, or you just hold on to it. It's a 6-foot pole. So this dude just, I didn't realize what he was doing while he was doing it. Goes to set it up and balance it. He balances it while he's crouched down, and then he stands up. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh, dude, that's not gonna balance. That's gonna fall over. But I saw him standing up, so I'm like, okay, he's gonna stand up and grab it. But as he stands up, he turns to some people and he's like, hey, look, I'm balancing this bong. But he turned his back to it. And as he's saying it, the bong is just teetering and falling towards the floor. It starts out slow, but as it builds up momentum, swings really hard and cracks on the floor. I'm like 12, 15 feet away. I'm blasted out of my mind. I saw it all happening, but I didn't feel like I could do anything to stop it. I didn't even feel like I could say anything to get anybody's attention. I'm just watching this piece fall in slow motion like, there she goes. It hit the ground and like the top 12, 18 inches bust off. It's like the mouthpiece just fucking flings off. That little piece that was hanging out of the window while we're driving home from the head shop. Yeah, that piece busted right off and it's all like jagged and stuff. Now it's like a 4.5-foot bong. It's not 6 feet anymore. It's all jagged. The dude who broke it, who balanced it and then dropped it, felt so bad. He's like, oh my God, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, bro, it's a $60 plastic bong, not a big deal. But you know, you don't like breaking somebody else's stuff. But I really wasn't too mad about it. I feel like I'd got all of the value out of it. I only spent 60 bucks and I had it for months and months. So seeing it break was not a big deal. I'm just like, oh yeah, no worries. You guys can have it. You can keep it here or whatever. And they did. Literally, the next time I went into the gym, they like sawed off all the jagged parts towards the mouthpiece. And they like smoothed out a newer mouthpiece. So it was like basically a new or a repurposed bong, but it's repurposed into another shorter bong. So it did live on for a little bit after that at the gym. I think it was like 4.5 feet after that. I'm pretty sure they like sawed it off and put tape around the mouthpiece so you could hit it again. But you know, at that point, I didn't really care too much. I had already got all the miles I needed out of it. But I am thinking at some point, I would like to get another big piece. These are my 2 biggest pieces over here, but 30's not that big. So maybe I'll see if I can get another 6-footer. Maybe we'll build our way up with like a 4 or 5-footer or something before we get to 6. But leave me a comment. What's the biggest piece that you've ever hit out of? I'm curious to hear from others. I think the piece I'm talking about is like 6'3", actually like 75 inches. I think I remember when I was picking them out, there was one that just looked like it was an inch taller than the other ones, and I got that one. Either way, if you want to come smoke with me, tune into my Twitch stream. I go live after 9 p.m. Eastern for a smoke sesh every night. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can support my content for free. And you just heard the story about the biggest piece that was ever in my collection. If you want to hear about the piece that started my collection or the first piece that I ever got in Colorado, check out this video right here. It's a fun story about a bong. This one to be exact. Have a lit day, my dudes.